Hey, Jeffrey, good to see you again.
Hey, Brandon, how are you, man?
I'm good, man. I appreciate you taking the time to talk about Marvel's What If with me. I hope you're having a good day with it.
I'm good. What have you been up to these last few hours?
Man, it's been an adventure. I ran out. They actually released an Infinity Gauntlet Lego set that I ran to the store to try to get, and it was sold out. So that was my day.
Wow. Nah.
How many questions about The Watcher have you been answering for the past few hours?
I think 3.
3? Oh, okay. That's not too many. There you go.
Not too many, yeah. So we're all good. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to throw a few more at you if that's okay.
Cool.
I want to start at the beginning of your introduction to Marvel, really. Like, were you as much of a watcher of the Marvel Cinematic Universe as your Watcher character was? Like, did you have favorite movies and did you have a good depth of knowledge, or was this a very educational thing to join?
Well, I had some knowledge. I'm not an encyclopedia. My son is the encyclopedia. I took him, he's 19 now, so I took him to his first Marvel movie. I guess he was 9 or 10. So I viewed many of these films through his eyes. And he, like all Marvel heads, deeply invested in this stuff. And so when they asked me to be a part of it, first, I asked him if he knew anything about the Watcher, and of course he did. He was, oh wow, oh man, and he described, this kind of, quasi godlike character who kind of exists outside of things. And anyway, I was excited to take it on. One, because he's such a fan, but also I found the character interesting and the possibilities interesting with this character. That he is kind of uniquely powerful and that he can traverse all of these different parts of the multiverse. That was interesting to me. And then 2, to kind of come back and work, from on the animated piece through my voice is something that I enjoy doing. I enjoy doing voice work and trying to figure out if I can play, certain notes and bring certain qualities through the voice that lend itself to whatever's on the screen. That's fun. That's fun for me.
Just in the first couple minutes of the first episode, it's just like, well, can't imagine anybody else's voice here.
Oh, cool.
So you nailed it. I'm curious, like, this is a character who obviously, I don't know how deep of a dive you've done, but there are stories where, like, he's interfered. He's met the Fantastic Four and so many other characters. And early on in the show, we have no signs of that yet. I don't want to spoil anything, but is that the kind of stuff, have you had like that fantasy conversation with your son or in your own head about where this could go and things you want to do?
Yeah, we'll see where he goes. We'll see how dispassionate he is about all of this. But yeah, the first time we see him on the moon in Fantastic Four, he finds himself in the middle of this Cold War, East versus West, proxy battle, and he kicks some ass. He's awesome, man. I mean, he's got, he's not to be toyed with, the Watcher. Don't get it twisted. I'm observing until I'm not, at least in that instance. So yeah, there's some fun stuff to be had with him. We'll see where it goes. Hell
yeah. I love your passion for it, dude. I hope you get to have all that fun with it. That's cool. I appreciate that you appreciate it. That's cool.
Yeah.
In the cast is incredible. And you're bringing in a lot of people with, who are Marvel veterans. Like you have Chris Hemsworth as Thor, Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk, Karen Gillan as Nebula. The list goes on. But they have the advantage of they're portraying characters that they've already been playing for years. Whereas you're coming in, you're doing a brand new version of a character. Did you feel like you had to do a bit of a learning curve to join the MCU and learn how to lend your voice to a complex character?
Oh, well, yeah, I certainly haven't kind of marinated in this character the way they have. And I can appreciate what that means. From Westworld, having worked now, almost 7 years on that show, you really understand the details, the nuance, and the specificity and the depth of the character in a way that you don't unless you spend that time with it. So yeah, that I didn't have that luxury here. So I just had to make it up as I went along, and sit in it. In my closet during the pandemic and play the music. but I think we found something that works well and interacts well with the other voice work that the Marvel vets brought to the table.
Yeah, how has it worked in like recording? Have you gotten to meet any of the co-stars? Have you all done this completely independently? Like, is there anybody that is particularly fun to collaborate with? However, like it is broken down on a technical aspect.
Yeah, it's actually much more disconnected than you would think. We all kind of do our own work in our own ways. Chris, Hemsworth and Mark were not gathered in my bedroom closet putting all this down.
That'd be a hell of a sight, though. That'd be great. That's going to make for a great behind the scenes.
Maybe one day we'll get one of those going on. But no, not in this case. Yeah. It's a much. It's and particularly during the pandemic, of course. Yeah. Everybody's in their own space somewhere in the multiverse, and we put it down, and it goes through some kind of magic elixir, or I don't know, magic process that that transforms it into what we see in these episodes.
I don't know how they do it, but it comes out so seamless. Like, you could have fooled me. I would have thought y'all were all in the same room.
Yeah.
Based on the press conference, it looks like the Watcher is going to have kind of an ongoing relationship with Peggy Carter throughout. Like, if there is a through line, that's a part of this. But also, I mean, it seems like Doctor Strange would be a good fit for such a relationship and things like that. Is there a soft spot for any characters that you can share?
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily a soft spot, but the Watcher is kind of observing things with an eye on justice or justness, balance, I would say. He's observing the behaviors of these characters, but he's also has one eye on balance throughout the multiverse. Okay. And so I'm not sure if it's a soft spot, but there are certainly events that he feels may be throwing off the balance of things.
Okay.
And he becomes compelled and sits up in his chair even more so at those things.
All right. That's going to be interesting. Now, before I let you go, I do, as a comic book fan, I got to ask you about the Batman, man. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
I just want to hear, first I'd love to hear what it's like to stand opposite Pattinson's Batman, what his presence is like, but also when you're Commissioner Gordon, dude, that's an iconic role that I can't wait to see you in. How do you think yours is going to compare to this has been done before? And I feel like you're putting your stamp on it just from the little bit that I've seen. I'd love to hear how you're making this your own.
Well, we all made this film together. Rob and Zoe and Colin and John Turturro, all of us working under Matt Reeves' direction to create these characters and a Gotham that was specific to our film. And so whatever we do individually is kind of a reflection of what we're all doing and what Matt's vision is. And it's a very specific one. It's a bit of more of a throwback to the DC as in Detective Comics of it all. So it's I loved it. I loved the script, and I loved what we were doing. We were doing it in circumstances that I didn't love, that were really very challenging. Once we shut down, and then we got back to work in September, and it was tricky, particularly the isolation away from family over in London and kind of isolated in an empty hotel. But we made, I think, a brilliant film, and I loved the dynamic that Rob and I were able to create. And I mean, I'm really excited for people to see what he does with this. He creates three kind of distinct people. There's Rob, there's Bruce Wayne, and there's the Batman, and they're each distinct. It's really cool, and coming at you next spring.
2022, man. I can't wait. Well, listen, we got a lot to look forward to just with What If on August 11th. Thank you so much for the time. Can't wait to see a lot of your upcoming work, man. I'm a big fan. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man.
But dude, your Marvel experience, man, you're a vet with this stuff. You in live action, you just recently Black Widow under your belt. Congrats on the success there.
Thank
Huge
you.
opening weekend. Thor Ragnarok, Ant-Man, you have a great resume. It goes back for years. First time in animation with What If.
Yes.
What was the biggest difference from a producer standpoint to go from live action to kind of this anything goes world with What If?
It was, you're completely unbounded from any sort of rules, and which is both the most exciting and the most daunting thing about it. Cause then you have to create your own rules. But it really is like in many ways, the purest interpretation of, the imagination of the people behind it. There's an element of chaos in all things. There's an element of chaos in animation. Certainly a major factor in live action filmmaking is chaos, and how things don't go as planned, and how you end up, ultimately with a whole different set of tools than you thought you had going in. And in animation, you kind of get to work with this infinite canvas where anything you want can be achieved, and if you can conceive it, you can do it. If you could dream it, you can do it.
So far, pretty ambitious in these first three.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Just wait.
Oh yeah. I say based on the trailers, there's some chaos coming still to come.
Yes.
The way it's been explained to me, and I've had a lot of chances to dive into the creative process with some directors and producers through the projects that I've released this year. Whenever there's kind of a collaboration between the projects, it's on the producers to have that conversation. The directors are the ones who get to go out there and do their thing, and the producers are the ones constantly talking. So I'd love to hear, when you were developing What If, on the heels of WandaVision and Loki, leading into stories that can tie in like Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, how much of a collaborative process were you constantly texting back and forth with all the other producers, calling on the phone, making sure, we're going to do this. It might help you here. Was there any of that for What If?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. We met with the Loki team, and Stephen Broussard and Kevin Wright and I would have many conversations about, the multiverse and how it functions, and branch timelines, Nexus events, same with Mary Lavanos on WandaVision. And I think we not just established how these things would be connected, but also the rule book for all the stories that we tell in the multiverse moving forward. And it's thrilling. We're in the middle of it. I'll tell you that. We are in the middle of it now.
So, of course, listen, I have to ask, as we visit all of these new worlds in animated form, any chance you think any of them come to live action life and tie into any of the films or shows on the docket?
Yeah, I think there's always a chance. It's animated, sure, but it's part of the MCU, and as you well know, once you're in the sandbox, anyone can play with that toy.
That's right. I've seen that Victoria Alonso came out and said there are ambitions for more animated Marvel projects. I heard you talk about season 2 possibilities earlier today. Have you been a part? Is there anything you would like to see? Would you like to see main universe stories in live action, or specific characters or anything like that, or do you think the future of animation sticks with multiverse possibilities and stuff like that?
I think that if I told you about our animated plans, it would blow your mind.
Oh man, I'm listening. I'm just kidding. Oh, that's cool. That's a good tease. I appreciate it. I got to see these first 3. The second episode, obviously, man, it had a lot of heart in itself, but with the addition of it being Chadwick's last effort, man, it really, you feel it and it comes through. And I would love to hear, did anything change in that episode? Is this 100% as it originally was shot, or did you guys kind of did you guys kind of change anything knowing this is his last outing?
He's in 4 episodes actually, and plays multiple versions of the character. It did. I wouldn't say that anything changed drastically. Like, we wanted to honor, frankly, his performance and his eagerness to be a part of the project. In retrospect, he recorded these episodes for us, knowing, what we all know now. And so we wanted to honor what he did. So we actually didn't change a lot of it. There were certain things, in the context of his passing, especially musically. And I think Bryan alluded to that. Laura Cartman delivered it what I think is an incredible score for the entire series, and the way she approached T'Challa throughout, especially in light of his passing, is really beautiful. Really excellent work.
It comes through. It lands, man. It's powerful stuff. The series starts with the Captain Carter episode, and that brings back Haley Atwell and several other key cast members from the MCU. I'd love to hear about the decision to start with Captain Carter, who sounds like a character who's going to have a kind of one of the through lines through the show.
Yeah, I mean, Peggy was top of mind early on. There's a in Bryan Andrews' animatic that helped sell the show. There's a scene between Steve and Peggy in the 40s. She, part of it is that everyone loves Peggy Carter. It's certainly behind the scenes. I mean, everyone loves the character, and we're always trying to think about ways to use her. But also Haley, like, we were excited to work with Haley. So and for many reasons, it became a focal point for us early on. And then, the characters, like everything else, they kind of take on a life of their own. They tell you where they want to go when you're doing it right. Anyway, that's what happens. And turns out Peggy has a lot to say and a lot to do in the what if world.
Yeah, and a lot of ass to kick. She's throwing down. She's throwing down.
Yeah.
I would love to hear. It is a strange thing to imagine someone else doing a voice of Tony Stark or a Steve Rogers or some of the characters that have been with us for over a decade now, and it doesn't pull you out of the show. You guys have found ways to make it work. So I'm curious. I'm sure those decisions are tough to make. What went into selecting some of the actors who had to step in for these roles that have been really defined by people, but these are characters we still needed to feature and tell stories with?
Well, a couple things. One, early decision was we were not going to let the show be defined by the actors we thought we could get. Smart. We knew that we wanted to tell part of the fun of What If is being able to tell stories, in any corner of the universe you want to. And that means that you need that infinite canvas, you need that infinite potential. And then, and also I was afraid we wouldn't get any actors to come back. I mean, the fact that we got as many as we did, I mean, it's 85% of the actors came back or something like that. It's incredible. And it's a real honor and privilege to work with all of them. In the cases where we couldn't get the original voice actors back, and many of which were very iconic roles of very identifiable voices, we prioritized the performance over the sound alike. So, you might be able to achieve like a perfect Tony Stark voice, but if the depth of the character wasn't there, and the acting, the performance didn't have dimensionality to it, it wouldn't matter. You'd be taken out. That would take you out. I think once you accept, the good news is that all these stories exist in a parallel universe. So there's a cerebral justification for slight differences. But once you accept the different voice, hopefully, the performances have a gravity to them, so that you're following these characters as individuals in their own right, in this new context.
My last thing for you. Which episode are you most excited for people to see?
Oh man, there's so many. It's really hard to answer. But I would say today, right now, I'm excited for people to see that Doctor Strange episode.
I can't wait, man. Well, listen, Brad, pleasure to talk with you. Thank you so much for talking to everybody all day. And I can't wait till August 11th when everybody gets to see What If. Hey, Bryan. Hey, AC. Thanks for talking about What If with me.
What's up, man? Thanks for having us.
Of course. I'm sure this is a long day. I hope I have some fun questions you haven't already been asked.
You have the Infinity Gauntlet. Oh.
That's right. We're still in the Infinity Saga in my house. We're living in the past.
Or is it the past because of the multiverse? It's ever present.
Something to think about.
Indeed.
Bryan, I actually want to start with you, man, because I was looking at your resume and I'm so excited for you because you've worked in art departments and creative efforts on so many different Marvel titles, and now you're stepping up as a director. And I just want to hear what it was like to get that opportunity to really put your stamp on something top to bottom as the director after all these years of experience.
It was a blast, and it was an honor to get that call from Brad and even suggest it. I was stoked, for lack of a better, to actually be able to play, in that sandbox with them and all their toys. I think it was great. But it's funny. It's a great opportunity, and I certainly appreciate it. But but you're only as good as your team, And we had an amazing team, and with AC and Matt Chauncey, and just incredible writing, and then Brad and Lou, Victoria, and Kevin, and then our art team. And we just acquired a lot of really great people, and they were all behind it. And we were all just kind of like holding hands together and saying, let's make something amazing, guys. Let's go for this. And everyone was just like, hells to the yeah. And so really, I was just standing on the back of what everyone else was able to help bring, you know what I mean? And just helping bring the cool out of everyone that was a part of it. Like, this is amazing. Let's do more of that. That's great. Let's do more of that. So I think that's been a lot of fun. And from being on set with watching the Russo brothers work on Infinity War and Endgame, because I was on that, and work, just being in their presence a little bit, as well as all the other directors I had a chance to work with. It's like, be able to like see how different people flow and do their thing. And you're like, this is all great. You're all pretty rad, but you're all uniquely you. And I think that's the key. You have to be you, but then play, and then encourage everyone else to come play with you. And hopefully I did that, because that's the whole point.
Hey, through 3, man, good work, man. I can't wait to see what you do with those back 7. I'm excited for it. Of course. AC, you're, as a head writer, you're writing a series that takes place in all these alternate worlds, which is not the traditional Marvel experience, because usually you have to kind of fit it into the puzzle. And I know everybody gets their bit of freedom, but you get to have total freedom to do whatever you want. How did you take advantage of that opportunity?
When I was brought on to What If, I was given the mandate of go make 10 small Marvel movies. Like, go have fun. Just don't do anything we're already doing in the movies, which meant for the first 3 months, I walked face first into every Marvel project. Until finally there was a moment of like, let her see Endgame. This is getting cruel. And then lead her into the stuff we're doing. So after that little trip, it was kind of like, okay, I can go weird. I can go different. I can take these characters in places that we've never even thought of going. I can kind of get in there and show Nick Fury having a crisis of faith. Like, is he on the right track? I can get in there and show a completely different side of Doctor Strange, really explore some meaty materials of like loss and love. And for that was the greatest gift. For me, these characters are so iconic, not because of just the silhouettes and the toys. It's the heart. It's the hero. It's finding the humanity behind the shield. So my job was to go in there and just find out why we love them. What is the human connection, and explore that in as many weird, cool ways as possible.
Yeah, I see. Is that a what if Spider-Man joined the Fantastic Four?
Yes.
Yes. Sign of things to come, maybe.
I wish. It's the very first issue of What If, and I was like, I immediately went on eBay when I was pitching the show and bought it. I was like, this is going to increase in value.
Smart play. That is insider trading right there. Okay. I need you to text me next time so I can have the same upper hand. Okay. I earlier in the press conference, it sounded like characters like T'Challa and Peggy Carter and probably some others that we're going to see along the way will be characters who are part of a through line going through the whole show. And obviously the Watcher is a part of that. I'd love to hear about whoever wants to weigh in on this, kind of the Watcher's role in maybe wrangling all these people or just overseeing. I don't know if he gets involved. Just how does that all play out? What can you say about it?
Well, probably can't say much. I don't know, AC, do you want to tackle this one?
Well, how's this? The Watcher, yes, he's the omnipotent force over he's the omnipotent force overseeing the entire multiverse. But the idea is that he gets more and more curious, more and more invested in these heroes and these characters. Like us, he starts to follow their losses and loves and triumphs he's a hardcore fan. And so the idea is that as the show evolves, so does the Watcher. Now, he famously in the comic books, he says, I see all, I know all, but I never interfere. Well, if we know one thing about the Marvel Universe, anything's possible.
Mm-hmm. And rules are made to be broken. Listen, thank you so much for the time. Congratulations on What If, and I can't wait for everybody to see it on August 11th.